Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortle Cast. I'm Jake, and with me as always, Steven, the deadpan man, the Far Cry guy, the Star Wars big boy, the man himself, Steven.
Do you remember the new one? Do you remember the new?
No, what was it? It was always
the
a
lore
new one.
master.
The lore master, because you kept the lore for all your Destiny friends in Destiny 1. I remember this.
No, it was. We found out when we were playing Destiny that my friends gave me a lore book, and that was it. And they called me the lore master.
I understand. It was my version was more exciting, but that's okay.
It was.
Anyway,
Yeah.
in case you didn't know, this is Chortle Cast, the official podcast of Chortle Games, where we talk about TV shows, video games, movies, anime, whatever the heck we want to talk about. And we've got a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking a lot about some new movie trailers, Detective Pikachu, Toy Story 4. We're going to talk about the Game Awards. And then the big news this week is Sony skipping out of E3 2019. So we're going to talk all about that. But before we go any further, we lost a good one this week. A real sad loss. Stan, as I'm sure most of you have all heard, Stan Lee of Marvel died this week on Monday or Tuesday. The days are blurring. I believe it was Monday.
It was Monday, I think.
He
Yeah,
passed
it was Monday.
Suddenly and quickly. He was rushed to the hospital that morning and died almost immediately after getting there. We still don't know what caused his death, but he is gone, and he has left a legacy that will last a lifetime and lifetimes beyond. So, Steven, you've had a lot to say about it this week.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
It was one of those things that it wasn't surprising because we all knew that we were going to lose him eventually.
I mean, 95.
95.
What an age to make it to. That's
one heck of a ride.
Like, I'm weird about numbers. I like numbers to be even or divisible by 5. And that's he hit a good number.
Yeah. And you don't really hear much about people, like famous people, getting that old.
Right.
And for him, like, okay. I told you this earlier this week. Anna, my fiance, and I, we have had this conversation in the past where it's like, if you could like sit down and have coffee or lunch with anyone in history, who would it be?
Right.
And so for me, my two, I think that I mentioned to her were J.R.R. Tolkien and Sun Tzu, writer of The Art of War. And now it's like Stan Lee's on that list, and it's weird to think that this guy who has defined pop culture so much, who kind of created modern American mythology, he is now one of the greats of the past. Because he's always been a hero of mine. You know, I've mentioned before that I as a hobby, I write fictional stories centered around superheroes, and he was an inspiration for that. And so it just bums me out, not to make it about myself, but I do wish that I'd gotten to meet him and just shake his hand, just tell him what an inspiration he's been. But I hate that he's gone, but like we said, like, what a legacy he's left.
What a legacy
he's lived.
And the old cliche is, they're in a better place, and he had a rough last couple of years, because I know there's a lot of people have been talking about his manager was just real mean and kind of money hoarding and just kind of milking Stan, and obviously when you're older, your health is just not what it used to be and whatnot. So, and his wife had passed earlier, I think this past year.
I think it was last year, late last year.
Yeah. So, anyway, what a legacy. What a guy. I'm seeing all sorts of videos of old interviews with him and stuff like Stan's soapbox and just his beliefs, his very progressive beliefs on racism and sexism in the world, and
he was just a really cool guy. Like, he was just a good guy who avoided controversy, was always championing for the little guy, and just taught so many generations how to be creative.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be sad. Potentially seeing his last cameo in Avengers, and regardless of what that moment is, it's gonna be special, and I hope that we can all treat it with respect. I mentioned this on a live stream, but what I kind of hope is instead of everybody just cheering and losing their minds or anything like that, I kind of wish that we could all just say Excelsior, like we just all as one scream it back at him on screen. But I don't know. Regardless, that's going to be an emotional moment, I think, for everyone involved. And so. You and I were talking on a live stream about how there's rumor that all of the heroes are in that scene with him. And what a freaking moment that would be if literally, if his cameo has some real impact. But I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a very loose rumor. It's kind of an old rumor, but to think that his cameo in Avengers 4 could include him actually interacting in some way with the whole cast.
Right.
Like, what a send off. What a right way to honor him one last time.
It's going to be emotional regardless.
Oh, yeah,
but
definitely.
Anyway, what a guy. Excelsior. Thank you, Stan. But we'll move on from there. So we usually start the show on a cheerier note, talking about what we've been doing this week, what we've been playing or watching. So I'll start us off just because I'm going to blow through mine pretty quick. I'm still playing RDR. I have moved the PlayStation from the Chortle Games filming room in my house to the living room so that I can play it more. And I've been playing a lot. I just got into... I may have actually just entered Chapter 6. I'm either in 5, but I'm off the island that everybody talks about, or I'm in Chapter 6 because I just got back from the island. I'm not sure where exactly, but I just got through the whole island narrative. And let me tell you what, some shady shit is going down. I don't trust anybody. I don't know who to trust anymore. Half the people I thought I could trust are dead or kidnapped or something. They're all falling apart. So I don't know. I'm real loose in that game right now, but still enjoying it. I'm finding I'm not getting frustrated, but like I am getting tired of like I mentioned at early on when we kind of talked about what we loved about it. I was talking about how I loved how you had to clean your weapons, and like you had to maintain that condition. It's not a glaring issue, but like it was novel then. Now that I've had to do it really only 4 or 5 times, and I've played like 60 hours, it kind of was like, I have to stop and do this. But anyway, I'm still enjoying it, but I am seeing some of the points that some other people were making, but they're not major to me at this point still.
Right.
I also got to play Spyro this week. There's a Let's Play of that experience up on the channel right now. You can go watch that. Really, really fun. Really, really good. It looks great.
Yeah.
It plays well. I'd argue it plays better than it used to. It feels very natural. It's obviously very nostalgic. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is just how, like, the art style, the art direction they went, the revamping of everything. You know, in the original game, the dragons were all kind of just a generic character model, like very, samey. They're all so different, and it's delightful to just sit and kind of see what they're going to be like and what they're going to say to you and all this and that. I'm really enjoying that. You can tell it was like an early game, you know what I mean? Like in the Let's Play, the very beginning of game 1 starts with this camera shot, and it's like a news broadcast, and it's one of the leader dragons, I assume. And he's like saying that, production of gems is good this year. We've gotten however many, and Spyro's just kind of like running around in the background, like playing. Yeah. And then another the news reporter asks him about this orc, and some other dragon steps up and is like, "I can talk about that. That orc's a Dumbo, and he's ugly." And then it cuts to the orc who's watching this TV, and he's like, ugly. And so then he's like, that's it. And he grabs a wand and he turns all the dragons to stone. And then the camera cuts to Spyro and he's like, looks like I've got something to do. And then he like runs off, and that's the game. There you go.
I loved that because I watched that in the Let's Play, and the fact that the orc just pretty much reached out his window with a wand and just shot the spell, who knows how far away,
like,
and just
turned every dragon just instantly. Like, what the most powerful wizard ever. It very much reminds me, like, when I'm in the creative process, sometimes I just have to start. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to put your first thing down just to get going through the rest of it. And I very much feel like that's kind of what somebody did. They were just like, we got this great game about dragons, and I need something to start it off. I don't know how to start it. And somebody's like,
they got through Act 1 in like 40 seconds.
Right.
And just skip straight to Act 2.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I digress. A lot of fun, very nostalgic. And then I got to play Hitman 2. That Let's Play is going to be coming up this next week, so you can look forward to that. It's very much like the newly revamped Hitman series that they did. I guess it's been 2 or 3, or probably 2 years now at this point. The one that they just recently did that came out in chapters. This is very much the same engine and the same kind of build and feel. The mechanics are very similar. There's very few new things. It's mostly quality of life things from what I can tell. But the nice thing is they dropped all of the content there, so you're not waiting for the next map or whatever a couple weeks from now, which I kind of thought was a charming piece, because you'd play through map 1 and kind of get to know it, and then you'd kind of pander off to something else, but then they'd pull you right back in for the next map. Regardless, it's good. It's if you enjoyed Hitman, the most recent Hitman remake, you'll enjoy. Or not remake. I don't reboot is what I'm looking for. You'll continue to enjoy this. So
that's good.
I had a lot of fun in the Let's Play. As always when I play stealth games, I find a way to screw it up real quick. But anyway, so a lot of good fun. That's what I've been playing. I've been wanting to watch She-Ra because I thought that came out this week. It does come out this week. But it comes out today if you're watching the podcast live on Friday at 12 o'clock Central Time. I am probably watching She-Ra, but I'm not because it didn't come out. I thought it came out Tuesday, but it didn't. So here we are.
Yeah.
And Steven, what about you? You've been last night you started our new live stream series, Uncharted.
Yes. Uncharted 1 through 4.
You're doing the Legacy Collection. Is that what it's called?
The Nathan Drake Collection.
That one. Yeah.
Is what we're starting with, and we're going to work our way through for games 1 through 3, and then we're going to end it with Uncharted 4. We're not playing Lost Legacy because, as far as I'm concerned, it's not an Uncharted game because it doesn't have Nathan Drake. That's just. I know. At me with your hate comments.
I was about to say you just drove a real hard line.
Well, it was supposed to be DLC initially, and I heard it was pretty good. But I mean, Nathan Drake makes the games, so
okay, I'll agree with that. Nathan Drake is special. But anyway, so are you enjoying getting back into that, and how is that?
Well, I'm just really excited about it because I've always, ever since we started doing live stream series, I said, because XCOM 2 was the first one we did, where it was like from beginning to end, and I even told you I was like, my 2 dream stream series to do are XCOM 2 and then the Uncharted 1 through 4 from beginning to end. So this is like finally getting around to doing
what you want. What I want to do. If you've knocked off both your if you've knocked off both your dream streams, like where is there to go for you, Steven? What do you have next?
I'll figure something out.
We'll
Jake.
figure something out.
I
guess
out.
Metro's the next.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to finish Uncharted by February or maybe even by March because Metro Exodus comes out at that time, and so I'll be playing that. But other than that, really haven't played much on the PlayStation because my PlayStation is currently but also my PlayStation is trash and won't do discs very well anymore. So that it was a whole ordeal even getting the Nathan Drake collection in the PlayStation. So
just make sure you get it out before you trade it in.
Yep, that's yeah. But I've been playing the Switch, been trying out some demos. I tried the Octopath Traveler demo.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this more in the award nominations, but after playing it a little bit, I totally agree with its nomination for art direction because it just looks visually really cool. We'll talk about that later. Just remind me once we get to that nomination. Just playing a lot of demos, seeing what there is for the Switch, some Diablo, Breath of the Wild, of course, and I've been playing this game called Knights of Pen and Paper.
Right.
I've owned this game for a while. I had it on Steam because it was on sale for like $2 one day, so I got it. And I played it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but I don't want to have to sit at my computer and play it.
Right.
And then I saw it was for Switch, and I was like, I bet this would be really good on Switch. And sure enough, it's a very casual, goofy, fun RPG where you play as a group of people playing D&D, and that's the game. Like you have your party that are people as well as classes. For example, the pizza guy is my warrior. And his bonus is that he's really cheap to recruit, which I assume is like you got your people playing D&D, and then he shows up. He's like, "Hey, here's the pizza," and you're like, "You want to play some D&D?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So he just throws himself into the game. So you can get all these different types of people, and then give them classes. So it's just a fun little game that harkens back to traditional RPGs, but it's just fun to play on the go. So I've been playing that a lot. And the sequel comes out this year. So
that's interesting. You were telling me about this Tuesday, and I actually fell down a deep rabbit hole looking at videos and like what it's all about. And it is really interesting because you're kind of working on like obviously in D&D, there's so many different types of people you can be, and there's abilities that come with that and whatnot. But what you're also factoring in is how is the person who's playing as that character going to play that character. Because you mentioned a grandmother, too. Well, the grandmother's really loud, so she draws aggro, so she's actually one of the better tanks in the game. So it's real interesting, and I was watching a bunch of people play some stuff. The sequel is already out on PC and any iOS mobile devices.
Yeah.
But the sequel is coming to Switch sometime before Christmas, they said. And it's supposed to be like a complete or like a deluxe edition, whatever you want to call it.
The deluxeiest edition is what they call it.
That's what they call it, yeah. So anyway, I think I'm going to pick it up too. It looked really, really cool. It plays kind of like a turn-based, or maybe not turn-based.
It's old school prior to Final Fantasy, and I think Final Fantasy was the big one to do this, where it was turn-based from left to right, where like your party was on the right and then the enemies are on the left. This is back in the days when like Mother or Earthbound, whichever one is, where it's looking at the enemies.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
But with this, you're looking at the backs of the heads of your party at the dungeon master with the table there, and you can customize what your room looks like to get bonuses and stuff. And then you're looking at the world and the enemies. So it's really cool.
It looks very fun. I'm excited to try it out. I want to try it out on Switch. But anyway, all right, enough catching up. Let's dive right into the news. So we'll jump in. We'll hit it hard here with probably a lot of shocking things. This was a roller coaster of a week, but this may be one of the most surprising things I've heard this week. Sony and PlayStation has announced that they will be skipping E3 2019. I'm gonna read some quotes and whatnot. I'm pulling this from IGN. Adam Bankhurst is the author of this. I'm gonna read some quotes from Sony through this, but go give them a click and read this. Game Informer was actually who broke the story though, which is where I saw it first. But anyway, so basically, Sony. I'm trying to find who it was that actually said this. A representative from Sony basically said they are exploring new and familiar ways to engage their community in 2019. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to deliver gamers, to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share plans with you. And then they were asked if they're going to have like an off-site event, kind of like EA's been doing and whatnot. And PlayStation Senior Vice President of Communications, Jennifer Clark, said they will not activate or hold a press conference at E3. Activate was an interesting choice of words there. I think she's just saying like they're not going to do like a direct or anything.
No simulcast or anything like that.
Right. So they are not doing anything. They're saying, Clark also went on to say that they're looking at events as a whole and how they can speak to more of their fans and continue to wow them. And she's also saying that the timing of PSX and E3 didn't allow for that, but they have lots of exciting things to come that they hope they can share soon.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it's a bummer.
It's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
So what you hear of at E3 a lot of the time is who won E3.
Right.
And I imagine that doesn't appeal very much to the people who are competing for your attention because everyone's always like, oh, did Microsoft do as good as Sony? Did Sony do better? You know, and so for Sony to basically say, look, we don't want to be a part of that competitive scene, I guess, and they want to make these big announcements for PlayStation fans where they're not competing for that spotlight. It makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
But it doesn't make it any less of a bummer because E3 is like Christmas for us.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. For me, yes, you're absolutely right. It is very much so many voices trying to announce what's new, what are they doing this next year. But there's so many. I mean, obviously, you've got the three big ones, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony. But then you've also got Bethesda, you've got Ubisoft, and then countless other people who we don't even know about. We don't even hear about, you know, because they're so small scale that it really takes, you know, some other outlets to kind of bring those people to the spotlight. But
it's funny because this news... And I thought about this before because I was wondering, and I think we may have talked about this a little bit here, with Sony doing something as small as they did last year. We were wondering if this meant they were pulling out of the scene, and I guess they are.
This has been a slow trend I don't know if it's been a trend, but like I know I've been hearing a lot of people saying like, oh man, people are kind of slowing down out of E3. I mean, obviously we had this year, you know, we've had EA pulling out and kind of being a separate thing that happens alongside of. This year, I think it was Microsoft. They didn't do their showcase like physically at E3. They were somewhere off-site, but they were still like a part of E3. Obviously, Nintendo, they've been doing directs.
Nintendo kind of did it first.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense. They still have a pretty big presence at the show, though, like with their booths and whatnot. And then, Sony has always kind of been oh, wow, their showcase is awesome, you know, is great. And then this year, really, really toning it down. I'll be honest, what I'm most worried about right now is, because PSX, I guess it was Sean Layden, he kind of said then, when they were like, we're not doing PSX this year, he kind of came out and said, he's like, we really just don't have that much we're ready to show yet. Which doesn't mean they don't have anything, but like, okay, that means we've got a lot of things working, but they're not ready.
2018 was the payoff for a lot of multi-year promotions like Spider-Man and God of War. And so they might just need to take a year off, get some stuff ready, and then come back strong the following year. I mean, they're in a position to where they're in such a lead that they can do that because people are still buying their systems. Two of the biggest games in the conversation for the VGAs, which we'll talk about later, two of them are PlayStation exclusives. So they can do that, and that would be okay. But what I was going to say earlier, it's funny because this whole convention, the E3 conversation, kind of reminded me of how we've talked about streaming services. how everyone kind of wants their own piece of the pie, to where it's, well, I guess they don't want a piece of the pie, they want to make their own pie. And because you've got like, it's kind of the same way, you know, Steam is where most PC games are sold, but then you had EA say, no, screw that noise, we want to make Origin so that they can do a platform for themselves. Then Ubisoft did Uplay. Then, you know, Blizzard and Activision have Battle.net. And so it's like everyone is trying to not play together as much anymore. And so I'm wondering if like the hardware developers, like the first party developers in the coming years, if they're going to branch off and do their own thing, and E3 is going to become more of a third party platform, which wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, that wouldn't be bad at all. That could still be really good.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. If Nintendo does a direct, we're watching it, right? You know, we're gonna take time and watch it. If you know, you and I aren't big Xbox guys, but you know, Xbox fans. If Xbox does, they just did a showcase recently. You know, people are gonna watch it. If Sony was to announce tomorrow, hey, we've got a huge showcase announcement, we're going to be watching that, you know?
I think I voted Xbox's press conference my favorite press conference of E3, even though I never played my Xbox. It was just a good video game conference.
Because it showed a lot of, like, as you said, a lot of third-party games and third-party developers that are showcasing their stuff. So, I don't know, maybe that would be. I just hate to see it, and maybe this is just me being an old, you know, an old kook trying to hold on to the past, but I just like E3 because it's like, here's the big event. Here's the week-long thing where you can see a bunch of new stuff that's going to be coming out, and then really you just have scattered announcements throughout the year. Now it sounds like we're just going to not have any big moment. It's just going to be, you know, a bigger scattered announcements.
What I think would be cool with E3 is if first party does start to kind of phase themselves out, if they made E3 press conferences a platform for third parties to show up and just have a moment on stage, you know, have maybe a package prepared. That way, you know, if they had that would take a lot more sponsorships probably, or maybe just having it as an open platform would, you know, lower the budget value or the production value, of course, but like giving us like 3 days of just an open stage for people to come out and be like, this is what we're working on. That would be really neat. And then you could still keep like Ubisoft,
the booths and the events and
all the third parties that have the ability and the funding and the sponsorships to make their own press conferences can still do that. But if you make those 2 big days, like with what Sony and Xbox did, make that just kind of an open platform. That would be really cool. You'd get to hear from a lot more games that don't really get a lot of the spotlight. Cause like, this is why I liked Microsoft so much, because the Microsoft press conference, better clarify so I can't be misquoted. Because it didn't feel like a Microsoft press conference for most of it. It felt like a video game press conference.
Absolutely.
We heard from Metro Exodus, even though, to my knowledge, the makers of Metro Exodus have no dealing with Microsoft other than maybe it runs better on Xbox One, but there's also the PS4 Pro, so that's, you know, just all politics. So that's what I liked about it, was that we were sitting there, and and the whole time I was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to see next. And that got me excited, and I was on the other end of it. I was like, man, there's so much I'm excited about that I didn't even think I'd see today. So I think if E3 became more of that rather than how it was this year, how we were all like, this is what we know we're going to see. Sony's press conference was good, but predictable.
Well, and they came out at the front end and said, it's going to be a different show. Here's the 4 or 5 games we're going to talk about, and that's it. And, you know, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, but that's just some of the games. Like, that's just some of the games they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about other ones. And they did talk about other things, but, you know, I was one of those trying to set expectations. I was like, I wouldn't expect more than 2 or 3 surprises, you know, in the mix. And we got some. Forsaken, obviously, that was a huge one.
Control was there, which no one knew anything about that. And that's my thing, is that this year at E3, there were no surprises, really. There were a few here and there, but like E3 to me, you know, Ubisoft even, I keep switching between Ubisoft and Ubisoft. I'm just going to say Ubisoft. Ubisoft didn't have their mic drop moment. They brought everyone up on stage and were like, bye.
Right.
And that was it. And that was like, man, what a blow to the gut, because Ubisoft's big reveal is one of my favorite parts about E3 every year. And so I just want them to bring back that sense of, hey, maybe we don't have to spoil E3 for everybody. Maybe we can, have these surprises so that you can be shocked with what you're now excited about. Like, because and a lot of that is because of the bigger developers, and it's harder to keep things under wraps. And with E3, it's been harder with the past few years to keep things secret. And eventually, with Sony, they were like, "This is what we're going to talk about." Mm-hmm. And so that was a bummer for me, because the surprise is one of the things I love about E3 so much. So I think that if they'd made it kind of, they were like, "Hey, Saturday's show for the E3 press conference is open third party slot." So they had people who worked for like Deep Silver or someone with 2K. They were like, "Hey, these people reached out to us. They want a spot. You have 10 minutes." Like something like that. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I honestly hope that's where it ends up.
Well, I imagine this year's E3 is going to be very different. I'm curious to see if we're going to see anything else like this. Like, is Microsoft going to follow suit and say, "Well, F this, we don't need to be here"?
Oh, man, if Microsoft does that, that's going to be stupid.
Well, I kind of think so, too, because, I mean, at this point, that's a huge person leaving. And, obviously Nintendo's still going to do their E3 Direct, and that's still something they'll compete with. But, like, usually it's Microsoft v. Sony. Nintendo's off doing its own thing anyway. So
Microsoft has literally been handed the opportunity to win E3.
Sony is doing some weird, like, just not weird, but like, I don't know. There's a lot of, like, the crossplay thing we've talked about, which they've resolved. Yeah. There was a lot of just stupid things. It seems stupid things that PlayStation has been doing just because we're the top and we don't have to relent anything. And it's like, why? Why do you even care to hold on to crossplay and all this? Because other platforms are moving on from that argument, and they're going to end up, they're winning favor, But anyway, I digress.
Crossplay kind of goes against what I'm about to say, because that thing was, I mean, I supported them in that act, but for them to skip out on E3 and stuff, it's like, it sounds like risk-taking, but risk-taking is how innovation happens. And so That's true. Maybe Sony just sees the future and what it can be, and maybe they're just trying to carve that out while they've got this enormous lead on their competitors, which they do.
That's true, and that could be what they're doing as well. So anyway, speaking of surprises and carving things out, or I'm just gonna say, speaking of surprises, Detective Pikachu trailer
what
dropped
on
this
earth
week.
is this movie?
I'm telling you, man, I am here to say I am Jake of sound mind and body, and I am eating my words right now, because I said on a podcast that this was not going to be a good movie, and I was not excited. Like, I was nervous about the whole situation. I am here to eat my words and say I am excited to see Detective Pikachu, and it looks great.
I am so excited too.
I'm so glad you're excited, Steven, because when I saw it, when I watched the trailer, I was like, man, I can't wait to laugh at how bad this is. I watched it, and I ended with a huge smile on my face and joy in my heart because of how good it was and how excited I was to see more. Mm-hmm. And I just knew, I was like, I need Steven to see this, because I know I'm an optimist. I know I'm going to see all the good things in this, but Steven's a realist, and he'll tell me, no, Jake, these Pokemon look awful. No, Jake, this writing is stupid. No. But you are coming in and saying, no, I actually think this looks really good too.
It looks great. It looks like a lot of fun. I really love that the Pokemon world seems like it's translating in a colorful, unique, interesting way in live action. All of the Pokemon themselves look pretty great. Like they look like they stand out, but they're Pokemon. They're supposed to stand out.
That's what's I think a lot of people are seeing the Pokemon, and that's a hard right or left, for it or against it. But, and I may have been that, like, the at the beginning of the trailer, it showed an image of Pikachu, and I thought, oh God, what have they done? What have they done? And then I started watching it, and I've watched the trailer 15, 20 times at this point. Honestly, like I'll be in the middle of doing something, and I'm like, I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that thing of Pikachu. I gotta watch that thing, and I'll just watch it. After watching it 2 times or so, it really clicked to me that this is what a Pikachu would look like if it was real.
Yes.
Like
yes.
It's furry. It's furry. It is furry. If you think about it in the anime, it's furry. It's just because in animation, unless you're super detailed, you're not going to see animal fur. Like unless they have a tuft of hair, which Sparky, I think that's his name. Is that right?
Yep. Sparky.
He's got the hair, like obviously fur. And so the more I kept looking at Pikachu, I was just like, this is what a Pikachu would look like. And my favorite moment in the whole trailer is the moment where, is it Tim? Tim's like, can you hear him? Can you understand him? And it cuts to Pikachu. And I don't know what's different, but something's different about that moment. Because obviously I don't think it's Ryan Reynolds. I think it's literally the Pikachu sound we all know and love.
Sound,
that goes,
yeah.
Pika,
The
Pika.
Pika Pika. Yeah.
And something about his positioning and everything looks very much like the anime, but obviously realistic.
Yeah.
And she's like, of course, he's so cute, Pika Pika, or whatever. Yeah. I love that moment. And then just like, I don't know, seeing the Bulbasaurs walk through and like the Charizard.
It's like this movie looks like a fan-made YouTube trailer, but it's an actual movie, and it's like I'm still wrapping my head around it. It makes no sense, but it looks so fun.
That's what I think makes it for me is I feel the same joy that I feel thinking about I'm going to be playing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee tomorrow or later today. It's got the same fun energy and hope and magic and I don't know and there's so much like it looks like it's just going to get crazy because we see that Psyduck releasing its psychic energy like in the anime. I don't know what that thing where the Earth is coming up.
What was that?
Well, I think it has to do with Mew or Mewtwo somehow because the poster has an M2 kind of like scribbled somewhere. And I don't. It's either just a Mewtwo reference, and that's like, fun, look, Pokemon, or it's like the conspiracy that Detective Pikachu is trying to unravel is going to lead back to Mewtwo somehow. But I don't know. And then Ryan Reynolds. Can we talk about how great he is in this?
Ryan Reynolds is just funny no matter what he does. Like I've talked about how I watch Hulu a lot. And he's in these stupid mobile game, like this app. It's like Bejeweled, Candy Crush, or whatever.
Right.
And it's these commercials for this app that I would never play, but they're so freaking funny because Ryan Reynolds is just so funny.
He's great. He sells he sells it for me. I've said this on a stream, I think, but I want to compare this to 2 other like this looks like it's going to be good, and I'm really excited about it. But I compare it to Bright, which is a Netflix show or movie with Will Smith. In 2 comparisons, a big critic of that, a lot of critique of that movie is the writing. Like it's just kind of weird. Like it just seems jumbled. And then it's Will Smith and a bunch of, for lack of a better word, nobodies. First timers or people who have only been in a couple other things, not big names. And very similar, Detective Pikachu has Ryan Reynolds. And then there's a couple other people, who have been in some other stuff in smaller roles, but not big name stars. But I in the very beginning, when it's just Tim and that detective or whatever that he's talking to, police officer that he's talking to, I feel like the writing is a little bit meh.
It's gonna be cheesy.
That's a good word for it. Cheesy. It feels a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
But maybe that's how it's just gonna be. It's gonna feel that way. And then the other comparison I make is Happy Time Murders, which was the Muppets.
Oh God.
Like adult Muppets movie. The only reason I make that comparison is just how gritty the Pokemon look. But it really, really works because it's just that's what a Pokemon would look like. And like
Literally,
the Grew Ninjas that are in the trailer, you know, they look weird. They look right. But when you look at a Grew Ninja in real life, you realize that scarf-like thing that's really just part of his body looks weird.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a tongue. It's supposed to look weird.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, that's what that is in the anime. And even Mr. Mime, like I've always thought humanoid Pokemon were weird.
Yeah.
And he
Mr.
looks
Mime
creepy,
scene is hilarious,
but I thought he looked creepy animated.
Yeah. So like the only thing that I would want out of this movie to make it better, and I'm not really even joking because this would have been hilarious. I love Ryan Reynolds, and I'm glad that he's voicing Pikachu. But the only thing that would have made it better is if it was Danny DeVito voicing Detective Pikachu instead of Ryan Reynolds. It was a whole fan petition and everything, and I mean, just imagine.
Oh,
Danny
I don't
DeVito's
have to imagine.
voice.
I've seen people recut Danny DeVito lines into the trailer.
It would be so funny.
It's hilarious. It's a whole different direction. It is interesting though, because I've seen, like, I haven't gotten to play the Detective Pikachu on 3DS. If they do a Switch remaster, I'm all about it. But from reviewers I've seen that are talking about the trailer, it seems to be following a similar story plot of the game.
Gotcha.
But what I'm saying with that is Pikachu's voice in that game is a Danny DeVito-like sound. Like, it's very deep, it's brash, obviously kid-friendly, but, you know, kind of gruff and rough like a Danny DeVito type. Whereas Ryan Reynolds is more of a youthful, excited, you know, energetic.
I hope Danny DeVito has some sort of cameo where he is voicing Pikachu, even if it's like something happens to Pikachu where his voice changes for a minute. And I just hope that I hope that they acknowledge, hey, we know you wanted Danny DeVito. Well, here it is for just a little bit.
Here's just a snippet.
Or even like if there's like a police agency of just Pikachus, if Danny DeVito was like police chief of them. Pikachu, that'd be great.
The only thing that would have made the trailer better for me is if we had seen an Eevee. I want to know where the Eevee is. And I want to know why the news reporter girl who has the Psyduck, why is that not an Eevee? It could have been an Eevee, Steven. But no, we don't have Eevee.
You'll see Eevee. He's like the most popular Pokemon. He'll be in the movie.
He better be. He better be. There's going to be a very upset Jake here at Chortle Games. But
it's going to be... The Eevee is going to be the villain, and he's going to have a human that he pets, because, you know, normally, like, the villains have cats that they pet.
Wow.
So Eevee will pet a human.
What a plot twist there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Detective Pikachu, really excited. Can't wait to see more. Going to be good. We also got our first, surprisingly, 2 teasers for Toy Story 4.
Yep.
I'll talk about the second one first, because it's the one you've seen, Steven. Right. It's got Key and Peele. They play Ducky and Bunny, which look like 2 toys you'd win at a carnival. Yep. And I forget exactly what they're doing, but they're having some kind of conversation, and then they start to imitate Woody and Buzz, and then Woody and Buzz show up, and they're like, "No, you're doing it wrong." And then Ducky and Bunny are like, "Nah, man, you got it wrong. We're doing it right." You know. Anyway, very weird. I don't really know what we're supposed to get out of that.
I love Key and Peele.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely.
They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And Keegan Michael Key does he's just funny whenever he talks.
Absolutely.
And so I'm happy that they're in it. I hope they do more with them than just like, oh, hey, here's Key and Peele.
Right.
Laugh because it's Key and Peele, you know?
I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. Like, they'll be in one segment for just like a funny jokey bit. But anyway, there was that one. Funny, exciting, more, you know, I love Toy Story, and so I'm excited to see this one. But the very first one that we got on Monday was a roller coaster, let me tell you. That we saw that one. It was the whole gang: Woody, Buzz, Jesse, Rex, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. I might have said Slinky already. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if Bullseye was in there. The horse, but anyway, it's all of them they're doing like a circle of hands, and they're spinning, and there's heavenly music kind of playing, and they're just kind of like laughing with each other. And Slinky, who's the Slinky dog, he's got his body is stretched, so he's like the longest part of the circle. It says next summer 2019, and then at the end of Slinky, who's holding on to him, finishing out the circle, is this guy, new character named Forky, who is a fork with some pipette tied around him for arms, and then googly eyes and like a hand-drawn mouth, and then he's got like popsicle sticks for feet. He's connecting it, and it gets to him, and you're like, who is this? And he goes, I'm not supposed to be here! And like he breaks the chain, and everybody kind of starts bumping into each other, and you just hear him screaming, and then somebody says, stop him before he knocks an eye out or something. And then that's the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about Forky for a minute, because we don't know much about this movie yet. We've had rumors. There's rumors that the script has been thrown out and they've rewritten things. I don't know if originally this was supposed to be like a love story between Woody and Bo Peep, finding Bo Peep again. I don't know if that's what this is going to be anymore. But I just want to talk about Forky, because that's all we really have right now. What? He says, I'm not supposed to be here. And obviously, he's not been in any other movie. I get that. He's not in this group. But I think he means something more deep than that. I think he knows he's a fork. I think he knows he's not a toy. And I think he knows that he's not supposed to be here. His being should not exist. And I wonder if this somehow confirms some sort of like godlike ability that humans have to push a soul to an inanimate object like a toy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, what are the implications of Forky here? Welcome to my TED Talk. Like, that's what the discussion I want to have right now.
The implications of Forky.
What are the implications of Forky? Because, like, what?
So it's interesting, because one can assume that with Forky, the implication is that if a child believes enough, they can give sentience to the non-sentient, which is, what makes a toy, but also a sentient toy like the main characters. But on that end, we have to go back to Toy Story 2, where the toys of the toy store were sentient without having an owner. So a child had not wished life into them.
But I wonder if that this is I love Disney conspiracies. I really do. I wonder.
It's by and large they're making everything sentient. Pixar theory.
But I wonder if so yes, the toys in the toy store. I wonder if they're sentient because I wonder if when they're made, that's when they're given the sentience, and it's just not they're not really awoken, until they're opened. I don't know. There's a TED Talk there waiting to happen, and I've got to see the rest of the movie to really flesh out this theory.
Yeah.
But right now, the implication to me is that this child made a toy and gave a fork life. And I want to know the implications of that.
That's so dark, because think about it.
Isn't it though? Isn't it though?
This movie is potentially saying that children have the ability to give sentience to anything with their imagination,
and then just throw it away.
Yeah, we've seen that sentience doesn't leave. Like, once you stop loving something, it doesn't cease to be, because that's what happened to all the toys in Toy Story 3. We're talking about theories for Toy Story right now. Let's just...
I'm just
the
saying.
Implications of Forky.
What are the implications of Forky? I need to know.
So that's so dark. And if Disney is going with that message, then what we're going to walk away from that movie thinking is, hey, any inanimate object that you've loved at any point in your life, feel bad because it has life now and it has nowhere to go.
Right? Like every Toy Story movie has always made... I'm already kind of a sentimental, I like to keep things person. And Toy Story, all the Toy Stories really kind of push that on you a little bit. hey, your toys are an important part of you. You should continue to love them and whatever.
Right.
Whatever. But yeah, now it's like, oh, that pin you've been using for 15 years that you one time imagined was a pin hero, well, suddenly it's sentient now. Like, you should feel guilty about Penny, the pin. I used to have an eraser that I made a toy in elementary school. I named him E-Racer, and he was a race car. A sentient race car, and now I don't know what happened to him. I probably made 15 of those things because I lost them or used them up. I rubbed a sentient eraser's face to delete
so
things.
There's so many dark messages.
What are you telling me, Nintendo? And yeah, Forky's whole thing about like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. Like, what if he's just a fork and he can't handle a soul? What if he's like in Full Metal Alchemist when the girl and the dog get shoved together and turned into what are they called?
No, wait, Chimera. That's what it was.
Chimera. Yeah. What is it? Is Pixar saying they're fork chimeras now? What are the implications of Forky, Steven? That's what I need.
What if Forky wasn't made by a child, but what if Forky is a toy's toy?
Like Woody and the team made him?
Woody and the team made Forky and gave another thing sentience.
I don't believe that. But if that's what ends up happening, holy moly. We're going to be overrun by toys. But anyway, what are the implications of Forky? That's all I want to know from this.
Let us know in the comments. Hashtags implication of Forky.
Hashtag the implications of Forky. All right. For the next couple minutes, and this will probably be several minutes, we're going to talk about the Game Award nominees. So the Game Awards, of course, Jeff Keighley's showcase at the end of the year, celebrating the past year of gaming. A panel of judges, people like IGN, Game Informer, your favorite influencers like Kinda Funny and What's Good Games and whoever, whatever. Not us. Nominate all these games to be up for all these different awards. So we're just going to go down the list. And kind of what I want us to do here, Steven, is just what do we think about these nominations?
Yeah.
Kind of what are our... I don't necessarily want to put you in a box and say, what did you vote for, Steven? Like, I know you voted because you and I kind of went through it together, but...
I voted while I was talking to you at a PlayStation party,
exactly.
So basically...
Yeah. What I just want to know, kind of like, what are your thoughts on these nominees and that sort of thing. So we'll start with the big one, just to get it out of the way. Game of the Year nominees are Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Celeste, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and Red Dead Redemption 2. 6 great games this year. I don't look at any of these and say, nah, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be up there. All of these are such worthy nominations.
Yeah.
It comes down to 3 for me. Red Dead, Spider-Man, and God of War.
Yep. So the Game of the Year nomination is the description is recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Mm-hmm. So I hear that and I think, which game did you have the best experience playing? And so for me, no secret, I voted for Spider-Man.
Right.
Because it ultimately delivered the best experience to me. Mm-hmm. All of these, based on what I've heard, Odyssey, I'm surprised it's on there a little bit because a lot of critics had a lot of bad to say about it.
I am too. I know a lot of people I listen to are absolutely loving it and all about it. And I haven't gotten to play it yet, so maybe it is what it's all cracked up to be. But from what I've seen, I'm not interested. But
same. Monster Hunter World was probably the biggest surprise on here. Glad it's getting recognition. Don't think it'll win.
But I don't think it'll win.
Yeah.
But it was one of the first games. It was one of the first games this year. Just period.
Yeah, it was January. Yeah.
One of the first good games this year.
Yeah.
Period. But it was a surprise, and it was really, really good. And a lot of people enjoyed it, and yeah, it deserves to be here. I don't think it'll win.
You know what I find really interesting?
Yeah.
And maybe you want to wait to mention this, but I'm looking at the nominations now. Monster Hunter World was not nominated for Best Ongoing Game, but it was nominated for Game of the Year.
No, I didn't think
That's
about
really
that.
weird.
I think it got there because, like I said, it was one of the first big success stories of the year.
It
And I
turned
think
Capcom around too.
it did. And I kind of think that's where it kind of got left off. Like,
Yeah.
if it had come later in the year, or it kind of had a perfect storm going for it. And I don't know that it would have worked out the same had it been a few months later after
Right.
God of War, or, I feel like if we could go back and mix it up a bit, I don't know that we'd be here the way we are. But anyway, I just want to shout out Celeste too. I don't think it's going to win, but number one, an indie game, and number two, an indie game that deserves this spot. It is a great game. Steven, you've got to switch now. You need to play Celeste. It has a great message, a great discussion about anxiety and depression, and to boot, it's got a great gameplay style with charming pixel art. It's delightful, and I'm glad it's there. I don't think it'll win, but
Right.
it's up there for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think by and large, definitely for me, but I think overall, I think it's going to come down to God of War, Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Red Dead, it's on there. No surprise there. You're going to hear a lot of my thoughts on Red Dead during this because it got nominated for way too much. It got way too much recognition. And I think it should be in there for Game of the Year. I think it's deserving of that nomination.
Absolutely.
But there's some on here that it has no business being in.
Absolutely, and we'll discuss that as we go. Let's move on to Best Ongoing Game. Nominees are Destiny 2 Forsaken, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, Overwatch, and then Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
So
a lot of
the
good
description says, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player's experience over time. I'm just really surprised that Monster Hunter World isn't in there because it's that. No, but No Man's Sky?
I think, No Man's Sky, I think, got on there because of the
the next update.
turnaround. Yeah, with the next update. But also, like, they're still doing stuff. Like, they just did the Abyss update. If they didn't just do it, it's coming out soon. Where with it expands the underwater capabilities of the game.
Right.
It deserves to be there. I think a better award for it would have been Best Turnaround.
Best comeback,
or
which
something like that.
sadly might be a category in the coming years with how many games do that.
It should be. I certainly think there should be a category like that. But for me, for this one, I can't remember if I voted for Destiny because that's what I'm playing and loving, or Overwatch because
You voted for Destiny.
Did I?
Yeah.
Probably because I'm playing it and that's what I'm personally enjoying the most. But I'll say it again. Overwatch, I think, does a great job year in, year out
It does.
continuing to give content for free to their fans and letting people roll on. Rainbow Six Siege, though, I've never played, but I know a lot of people are talking about just how good that game is and what they're doing with that. So
it's been getting a lot of love.
what do you? Well, sorry, go finish your thought there.
That my thought was finished.
Okay. What do you think about Fortnite being on here? Because, like, I get it. It's Fortnite, and yes, it is an ongoing thing. But do you think it's going to win because it's Fortnite? Or do you
honestly think it's going to win, and it's because the people that vote are stupid. That's why Red Dead is going to sweep every category it's in, probably because, and we're going to go ahead and do this now. Red Dead came out 2 weeks ago. People are still playing it. It's still fresh in their minds to the point where the average person voting for games, they're going to be like looking through the votes and they're going, oh, Red Dead, I love that game. I'm playing Red Dead right now. It's perfect because I don't have the time to look back and think what actually was wrong with this game and ask myself the question, did it do this the best? Art direction. We'll get there, but it got nominated for that. I disagree completely. But you've got those people that are going to vote for Red Dead just because it's Red Dead. And I think Fortnite's going to be kind of the same thing, is that if you've got these teenagers voting for the Video Game Award, they're going to see Fortnite. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I like Fortnite. And they're not going to consider the individual categories.
I'll say this. Yeah. So the way the Game Awards works is people, influencers vote and compile the nominees, and then the voting is open to everyone to select the winners of these categories. And you're right. I think the general population is not going to consider as deeply as you or I might in this topic and care as much as you and I would. But yeah, anyway, the Fortnite though is interesting for me because I feel like the Fortnite hype has kind of fizzled a little bit.
It has.
Or plateaued, maybe is a better word. I feel like, sure, everybody knows what it is, and it's a thing that everyone knows and talks about, but is it something that's still so popular and so exciting that it's going to garner people to vote for it? But I don't know. That's a curious one for me because obviously I'm not a Fortnite hater necessarily, but that wasn't even a question for me of what I'm voting for. But
it's either going to be Overwatch or Fortnite, just because the people that actually like Destiny aren't very vocal online. In fact, the people who are vocal online hate Destiny.
Right.
Because they're very vocal about how much they do hate it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be either Overwatch or Fortnite. I think Overwatch deserves it more than Fortnite because Overwatch has been going for 2 years now, and
it's more than that. It's coming up on 3.
It's been 3, yeah, almost 3, and
but they've been consistently.
Consistent.
They've consistently been nominated for this, and they've consistently. I think they've won it maybe 2 years now, but they deserve it.
And Fortnite hasn't faced the heat of competition until now,
right?
So they've been doing minor updates when they haven't really had anyone to compete with in the realm of another battle royale game. They haven't been under the gun to innovate, improve, or die, and I feel like that's what's happening to Fortnite a little bit, is that BRs are going away to a degree.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to Best Game Direction. This is awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in a game direction and design. A Way Out, Detroit Become Human, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. So this is another one that Red Dead, I don't know what direction they took that made this worth being nominated, but okay.
The fact that it says creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, Red Dead design, if you go off of that, sure. It did not innovate in direction. It did what it was supposed to do.
Right. I mean, it's a sequel to, and I feel a lot of the same way about Marvel Spider-Man 2 in this, is that it's Red Dead Redemption 2. We kind of have an idea of what that's going to be. It's going to be a cowboy game. Right. And sure, they went so hard on making a cowboy simulator, as you and I have been calling it, where everything feels purposed, and there's so many little things that you notice and you have to deal with and work with. And that is a design marvel, but I don't think it's a direction.
It's not innovative.
Right. You didn't take a drastic new direction and go anywhere. Same with Spider-Man. Right. I feel like sure they took some innovations and built on some things that were already kind of built up in Spider-Man games. But I feel like more so with the Spider-Man game, I feel like they had, hey, here's this Spider-Man game that here's what all Spider-Man games have been like. But there's some good ones or some bad ones here. And they made the best one ever. And they innovated. They brought in gadgets, and the world is amazing, and obviously the graphics and design of the characters and the suits and the abilities. There's a lot of innovation that went on, so I think it's more deserving to be here than Red Dead. But to the same tune, they were kind of just building off of what was already there.
Red Dead and Spider-Man both had a formula for what to do, and they basically just had to do their job well, and that was it.
And then do it better, even.
And so I don't think they deserve to be here. Spider-Man definitely more so than Red Dead. But no, for me, it was a tough choice between Detroit and God of War.
Absolutely. I think A Way Out deserves to be here because that was very much like this concept of a game that you have to play in co-op. And and they did a lot to make that easy and convenient. And, it was a great game that had direction, like a kind of a different style. But yeah, Detroit and God of War.
So Detroit did the choose your own adventure, Telltale, David Cage, it did it the best it's ever been done.
Right.
And it did it in a new way to where it did innovate the genre. It did innovate narrative as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I think it deserves to be on here, but ultimately I voted for God of War.
Same here.
And the reason being, and you can chime in at any time, everyone was expecting a new God of War game to just, show up, have gratuitous violence, gratuitous nudity, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of be a fun hack and slash game. But they made this game, which, God of War has not really been held to critical acclaim for a while. It's just been kind of that game that shows up. And they've made it a game that rivals the critical acclaim of Last of Us.
Yeah.
And that's something. That takes some innovation and direction, and they nailed it.
Absolutely. They told a story. They took Kratos, a by and large probably disliked character by a lot of people.
One-dimensional character.
A one-dimensional character, then. That's a better word. They took a one-dimensional character and made me care about him. In the older games, he was always just the person you were taking on to just hack and slash and beat the hell out of everything. But here it was a guy who you cared about and you felt for, and
he had depth. He was a person.
Yes, and then the dynamic with his son, like you said, rivaling Last of Us even. What a just a complete 180 of direction, and that's why I voted for that one. But going along those lines, best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, nominees are Detroit Become Human, God of War, Life is Strange 2, Episode 1, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 does not deserve to be on this list.
It does not. And it says outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. It uses narrative twice. Narrative structure is not done well in Red Dead Redemption 2 based on what I've heard and based on what I've played.
Rockstar is the GTA 5. I don't know that any GTA game has ever won any narrative type of award. I don't think it has. But I feel like the narrative in Red Dead is very similar to a GTA 5 type of narrative, where really the narrative and the plot exists to take you through different scenarios as an outlaw. And there is some development, there's some good story, there's a lot of, I don't trust half the people in my gang anymore. There are things I'm experiencing, but there's so many other games that aren't on this list that I would have said they had a better story than Golf Story. Hell, had a better story than Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
So that one I'm surprised is on here. I never got to play Life is Strange 2, but those are very narrative heavy games, so I understand it being here. Spider-Man did a very good take and
Jake,
exciting take on Spider-Man.
I'm telling you that once you beat Spider-Man, you're going to say that it probably deserved to win this to an extent.
I'll say this. Because I haven't beaten it, yes, I can't say that with full confidence. But the more I think about it, it really, really did innovate on the Spider-Man character and create its own, retelling of a lot of things. And
it innovated, but felt so familiar.
Exactly, it felt right. And we'll get to some of that with Spider-Man later. But I want to talk again about Detroit and God of War. Obviously, I've already said God of War made me care about Kratos through the story, and so that deserves definitely deserves its nomination. But Detroit Become Human is who I ended up voting for.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you want to say narrative, like there's 3 ongoing stories that your choices throughout each character is going to affect where the other ones go. But even beyond that, you could die at any moment, and that affects everyone's story, and there's so many branches.
Yeah. You and I played the same game, yet it was completely different.
Completely different.
And that is... Detroit Become Human is innovating narrative. Like, that is basically what it is. And if it does not win this...
the innovating narrative game. Is what it is.
It is easily the most deserving of that. And if it doesn't, I swear, if Red Dead beats Detroit in that category, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be so pissed, Jake.
Honestly, anybody but Red Dead. For me, I'm fine with. I could make arguments for deserving.
I would say Life is Strange doesn't really deserve it either, because anything that says Episode 1, I don't think deserves an award for narrative.
Well, and that's because with Telltale closing down, the state of that game is completely unknown. I don't think at this point we know if they're going to finish that one. I know they're going to...
Walking Dead is going to get finished.
I was just about to say Walking Dead, a huge campaign has gone out, and that is going to get finished.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the state of Life is Strange is. So
I think any of these other than Life is Strange and Red Dead deserve it. Life is Strange, like I said... You can't give a narrative award to something that is unfinished in its narrative.
Isn't Life is Strange Square Enix, though?
No, I don't think so. I think it's Telltale. No, it's Square Enix.
You're right. It is. So maybe what it means, I think it's just because the rest of it hasn't come out yet. But I agree with you. Yeah, if it's going to win Best Narrative, we've got to have the whole story,
complete. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's Square Enix. I don't know where I got Telltale. All right, moving on. Best Art Direction. For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Octopath Traveler, Red Dead Redemption, and then Return of Obra Dinn. Obra Dinn. Thank you. Assassin's Creed, beautiful game. God of War, beautiful game. Red Dead, a beautiful game. And then Return of Obra Dinn is different. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And Octopath Traveler is a different type of pixel side-scrolling game because it has like a 2D depth to it. You talk about more about that because you've played that.
So I played the demo. I mentioned it earlier. Mm-hmm. With Octopath Traveler, it's a classic JRPG that's got that kind of pixely, I guess, chibi art style, if you want to say that,
right.
To where everything's kind of smaller. Mm-hmm. But the environments, everything feels like an animated painting.
Yes.
So like you're like moving around and you can see that there's depth to buildings and stuff. So it's 2D, but it's not. Like it's like you go left, right. It's like 2.5D. You go up, down, left, and right. Mm-hmm. But everything has depth and it just looks really cool. So I voted for Octopath Traveler for that reason, because my understanding of this category, and I think this category is confused, and I think it should have been split. It should have been Best Art Direction and then Best Visual Design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, because Art Direction, when I hear Best Art Direction, I think who was creative and did something in a way that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like artistically. Mm-hmm. And I see Assassin's Creed and Red Dead, and I think you guys are just saying that because they had good visuals.
Right.
God of War I can understand because God of War had a lot of mythology
and some other elements they had to create and do. Because, you got Valkyrie that you have to make look real, And that's a technical achievement. But when you got a cowboy that you're making look like it's a cowboy from actual cowboy times, or even same with Assassin's Creed, it's making the Romans look like Romans and the
And
Spartans
there's even some mythology included in Assassin's Creed, so I'll even hand wave that. But like with Red Dead, you're just making humans and horses.
I mean, I can't. I agree with you. This should be a split category because Assassin's Creed and especially Red Dead, they look so ridiculous.
If there was a visual design category, Red Dead would have my vote, 100%.
Absolutely.
But
as far as like
what...
art direction and like doing something interesting and cool, I voted for God of War on this one because I thought they kind of took the style of Norse mythology and did some really cool things with it. Octopath Traveler would have been my second vote because of it's a very different art style and direction. I personally just don't like it. That's why I couldn't vote for it.
It's weird, but I like it a lot.
It's different, and I respect it for that and that it is innovative, but I can't look at it. And the return of Obra Dinn, I understand why it's there because it is again different.
It's creative. It's different. That's why I'm confused by that category because it's like it can't decide if it wants to be best visual design or best art direction. And the inclusion of things like Obra Dinn and Octopath Traveler makes me think you guys are going towards art direction, not visual design. So those don't deserve to be there. Yeah,
exactly. All right, moving on. Best score / music. This one's presented by Spotify. For outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. So we got Celeste, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Ni no Kuni 2, Octopath Traveler, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
I am pissed that Detroit Become Human is not on here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many people know this, and based on my experience, I believe this is the case because I watched through the credits and I looked it all up. Detroit Become Human had 3 different scores by 3 different people because they needed a different scoring for the different characters because each character had a different feel. Right. So whenever you're playing Kara, it feels like a horror movie almost. When you're playing as Marcus, it's more of, the heroic uprising, and then with Connor, it's like a crime drama. It's like a detective movie. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they did all that and they made it cohesive to where it all felt like the same thing, yet it all felt like each individually had personality. Mm-hmm. Why is that not on here?
I don't know, and it boggles the mind, to be honest with you. So I've played all of these except for Octopath Traveler. Yeah. To me, the one that has the best music and score is Spider-Man, like hands down.
That's what I voted for.
Just because the music goes with you when you're swinging, when you're right at the height. The music swells with you and
it's like you are given your own scoring to your superhero acts. Like the music knows what to do with you. Exactly.
And that's not to say that Celeste didn't have good music. It did. Not to say that God of War's score wasn't good and
God of War was
hit at the right moments and everything.
God of War was Bear McCreary, so I imagine it was pretty solid. He does good work.
But God of War is also pretty. It's not linear, but it kind of is. Like once you're doing a certain thing, there's a certain path you're going to take, and the music can go with that. But like Spider-Man, like I said, is very fluid. And then I haven't played Octopath Traveler, so I don't know. Ni no Kuni has a good JRPG soundtrack.
I imagine Octopath is probably the same way. Like JRPGs have some dope music. They really do. Like,
absolutely.
Harkening back to like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. So I actually kind of want to listen to the Octopath Traveler soundtrack just to see how it is. Mm-hmm. But I don't know enough to give it my vote.
Yeah. And then Red Dead has some good score, and then they've got, I don't know if it's an original song, but that Hear the Thunder, whatever that song that plays through in the middle. That they've got some good things in there, but it's not like a Spider-Man did something very awesome with music.
Spider-Man felt like a Marvel movie.
Being played.
That you
exactly,
were being played,
music. Going forward, though, best audio design presented by Dolby, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. So the nominees here are Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Forza Horizon 4, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and then Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this, I see God of War and Red Dead being better than Spider-Man because Red Dead is what I ended up voting for.
Yep.
Because Red Dead, a lot like Breath of the Wild, it's not that there's so much heavy soundtrack or music, it's that the sound really just immerses you in the world. And I feel the same way about God of War, but I felt like Red Dead did it better for me personally.
I agree, and this is what I voted for Red Dead on, because I think that they nailed it when it comes to, things that are punchy are punchy, things that are subtle are subtle. If you close your eyes, you feel like you're there.
Right, absolutely.
I think this category is probably the best represented, because I think all these games deserve to be there.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, Forza, I'm not a big racing car game, but I know that Forza sounds good.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty and all that, there's so much going on in those type of games to make that feel and sound right.
Right.
It takes a lot. And, Spider-Man, I don't think Spider-Man doesn't deserve to be here. I think they did a great job there,
I think
too.
it does, because I think it also does a good job of kind of capturing the essence of the world. I think that, the sounds of web swinging, like you can hear the wind blowing and
the thwip and all that.
The thwip, it all sounds. I think it sounds great, but it could have done more environmentally, and Red Dead just did that more.
Right, absolutely. All right, moving on to Best Performance, awarded to an individual for voice-over acting, motion, and or performance capture. So this is, I'm going to butcher some names, and I am sorry. I just
do you want me
to
do the
butcher.
names?
Would you? Because I'd rather you screw that up than me.
Okay. Brian Deckard as Connor from Detroit Become Human.
Yep.
Christopher Judge as Kratos, God of War. Oh. Milisanthi Mahut as Cassandra.
That was actually
Assassin's
pretty
Creed
good.
Odyssey.
That was actually
Thank you.
pretty good.
Thank you. Roger Clark as Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker, Marvel's Spider-Man.
So I just want to say, all of these people totally deserve to be here. Connor, awesome character.
Yep.
And Brian Deckard, from everything I can tell, is a pretty swell guy, and he's great. Christopher Judge
And
as
plus,
Kratos.
he was probably motion captured, wasn't he?
He was. Christopher Judge, is that who you're talking about?
Brian Deckard, because he looks exactly like Connor.
Yes.
So I imagine
Oh
they
yeah.
probably look
They
at them.
modeled it off of their actors there as well.
Yeah.
Christopher Judge, did the motion capture and as the voice of Kratos. Did an excellent job. I haven't played Assassin's Creed, but everyone talks about how Cassandra is the character to play, and that's because of Milisanthi
Mahut.
Sorry, I can't do words. Roger Clark, Arthur Morgan feels like a cowboy, and a lot of that is how he talks, and I think he did a great job there. Yuri Lowenthal, though, I think he did something more than the rest of them in that he took Peter Parker, who we've had in movies 3, and Tom Holland is kind of the oh man, he was great. Like everybody loves Tom Holland right now. Yeah. I think Yuri Lowenthal could be on that level with Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and that takes something to get a fandom to say, wow, he did a great job as this iconic character. So
for me,
kudos to him.
This is how I put it when I was talking to Anna about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yuri Lowenthal also voiced Sasuke from Naruto.
Right.
So to me, whenever I heard his voice, I heard Sasuke, because that was his most iconic role prior to now. The fact that now I don't hear Sasuke anymore, I hear Peter Parker. That is the equivalent of Robert Downey Jr. acting in a movie that he was so good in that we don't see him as Tony Stark anymore. Right. And that is what Yuri Lowenthal did. He is now my favorite Peter Parker. He is my quintessential Peter Parker. And he nailed his humor, his wit, his emotions, his heart, everything just perfect. And a lot of that had to do with the writing, yes, but
But he still, delivered on that.
He delivered so well.
He filled it out. I agree. So that's who I ended up voting for. I mean, like I said, the other ones are great, but he did something that I don't think a lot of them had to do. So anyway, next one is Games for Impact, for thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning and or message. The first one is 11/11 Memories Retold, Celeste, Florence, Life is Strange 2, Episode 1, and then The Missing, J.J. McAfield and the Island of Memories.
Yeah.
So I've only played one of these.
Yep.
That being Celeste, and it totally deserves to be there. It has a great message, and is very profound in its message. I've heard a lot of people talking about Florence. It's a mobile game. I've been told you can get through it in an hour, and it's a game for people who aren't gamers, but it has a profound message. The rest of these I don't really know about, but I can tell from 1111 Memories Untold, it looks like it talks a lot about war. So I'm sure the rest of those deserve to be there. But it's interesting how many of these are not like super well known,
Right.
But I don't know. Did you have any additional thoughts on some of these?
I haven't played any of them.
Yeah. You need to play Celeste, Steven. I'm just telling you, it's really, really good. So I'll be interested to see who wins of that, and I'm going to have to check out some of these other ones.
Yeah.
All right, best independent game, rolling right along. Celeste, Dead Cells, Into the Breach, and Return of Obra Dinn, and then The Messenger. So I've unfortunately only played 2 of these as well. So Celeste got my vote because it is great. Dead Cells is the only other one that I've played a little bit of, and I enjoyed it, but it didn't do the same things for me that Celeste did.
Right.
You voted Into the Breach because that was your strategy game that you've played.
So I was between Dead Cells and Into the Breach because Dead Cells is action roguelike, which I'm really into right now. But Into the Breach, I love to see strategy games being innovative or different or just being recognized.
Right.
And I'm probably going to buy Into the Breach on my Switch. I'm probably going to go on an indie buying spree and buy things like Dead Cells, Into the Breach, and Celeste.
The Switch is the perfect thing for that.
Yeah, and I watched the trailer and it looked like a lot of fun, and I want to see more recognition from strategy games because ever since we've moved into more of a console era, strategy has been kind of left behind.
Yeah.
And so to see a strategy game be recognized, since I haven't played any of them yet, I wanted to see it get the vote.
Right. The Messenger, too, being on here, I'm surprised because I feel like there's some other indie games that I was really impressed with this year that I have played, and I've heard just nothing but mixed reviews from The Messenger, so I was surprised to see that one there. Best mobile game, for the best game playable on a dedicated mobile device, Donut County, Florence, Fortnite, PUBG Mobile, and Reign, the Game of Thrones edition.
Everyone hated PUBG Mobile, I thought.
I don't know why that's there other than, I will say this is probably the first time I've seen this mobile game category be filled with like not actually good mobile games, but bigger name game. Like Fortnite you can play on a PS4. PUBG you're about to play on a console. I don't think Reigns can be played on a Switch. And then Donut County it came out on mobile and PS4. So almost all of these can be played on console, but they're also on your phone. Which that's a sign of the times. But I don't know. Anyway, Donut County's great. Again, Florence, a lot of people have talked about, and that's a mobile game. Fortnite and PUBG, I think, are just kind of here because they converted something down to mobile. I honestly think they're going to win it just because of the technical feat that it is to put this full experience on mobile. I'm surprised with Reigns, Game of Thrones edition, just because Reigns is a great mobile game, but I guess that's why it's a good one and it's a recognizable one. So I would have put good pizza, great pizza in there. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. All right, Where is good pizza, great pizza?
All right,
you want to start? That to me.
You want to go a little bit faster through these? We don't have a lot to say on.
Yeah. So best VR AR game, I put Beat Saber. I haven't got to play it yet, but it was between that and Moss for me.
Yeah. I probably would have voted for Moss personally.
Moss is great. It made me say, okay, if everything goes to VR, we're going to be okay because this is how some games would have to play, and I like it. Right. We also had Tetris Effect, which I've heard a lot of people like. Firewall Zero, I've heard good things about. Astrobot, surprisingly, I've heard nothing but good things about. So, best action game, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Dead Cells, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Far Cry 5, Mega Man 11. A weird category and a weird selection.
The description is best game in the action genre focused on combat. So you're looking for the best combat system in a game.
Mm-hmm. See, and I went for Destiny. Again, because that's what I'm playing and enjoying. But also, the shooting in Destiny has spoiled me because I complain about it when we play Far Cry, and I complain about it, when I play anything. So, because Destiny has truly spoiled me.
I think I voted for Destiny just because it was the closest thing to class-based combat, and that's the kind of combat I like. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, best action adventure game. This is for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Again, a lot of great ones. I think I ended up giving it to Red Dead because
yeah, you did.
To me, it really is an adventure, and there's a lot of action going on. God of War was like my close second because, again, the combat in that is amazing. The adventure told in that is amazing. And for me, Marvel Spider-Man is not so much an adventure. It's a great action, but it's not an adventure. And then, of course, I haven't played Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I know those are both good ones.
I voted for God of War because when I think of all of these, I think of God of War being the one that like tells a tale the most, of action, adventure, and combining. It's got puzzles in it, it's got combat, it's got a lot of cool different places, and it's it's like a mythological road story with father and son.
Right.
And so I voted for God of War. I hope it wins.
Again, can I just stop and say what a year 2018 has been, because we have truly so many of these. I am torn on my choices, and
just imagine what other choices we'd have if Red Dead wasn't here.
Well, there's that too, and I think they would be deserving, and I'd be torn even then. But this has been a great year for games. But
it has.
Best role-playing games. This is for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. So, Dragon Quest 6, Echoes of the Unexclusive Age. 11? Oh, I can't read Roman numerals.
Roman numerals.
Roman numerals. I cannot read Roman numerals. 11. God, I don't know. Echoes of an Elusive Age, Monster Hunter World, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, Octopath Traveler, and Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire.
Deadfire.
So I've played Ni no Kuni and Monster Hunter in this, and I voted for Ni no Kuni just because I enjoyed that a lot. But
I voted for Pillars of Eternity. I've only played out of all of these a little bit of Octopath and Monster Hunter World, but Pillars of Eternity is such an under-focused, people. Not a lot of people know about it, but it is an excellent RPG. Like, it understands true character customization, true progression, class systems. It's single player, but you control a party, and it's real-time top-down combat. It's weird,
right?
But it hits all of those in a really good way.
Yeah.
It's classic RPG, but it's innovative at the same time.
Yeah. Best fighting game. For the best game designed primarily for head-to-head combat. I just want to read these out. Blaze Blue, Cross Tag Battle, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Soul Calibur 6, and then Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition.
Soul Calibur.
We are not huge fighting game people on Chortle Games. I've had the occasional one that I've enjoyed. Soul Calibur, I'm giving it to them because they have The Witcher. And, hey, that's great. Also, honestly, though, I do think they have kind of a unique style because they pick fighters with weapons.
Yep.
And
That's the thing I've always liked about Soul Calibur, is that it was weapons as well as just fighting.
Yeah, and I enjoy that. So, best family game, Mario Tennis Aces, Nintendo Labo, Overcooked 2, Starlink Battle for Atlas, and Super Mario Party.
Mario Party should not be on here because families should not play that, or they will cease to be.
They will cease to be families.
We both voted for Overcooked.
We both voted for Overcooked. Although I voted for that because that's really party game would have been a better award for it. I love to play it with people, but much like Mario Party, it will rip you apart. So I'm expecting Nintendo Labo to win this. Just either Nintendo Labo or Mario Party. But
I think it'll be Mario Party.
I hope Nintendo Labo gets some recognition because that is a really, really fun thing for families to do. But anyway, best strategy game.
I'm gonna do strategy game if I may.
Oh, please go ahead. Because I don't know any of these.
Dear to my heart. Okay, best strategy game. Best game focused on real time or turn based strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. Banner Saga 3, BattleTech, Frostpunk, Into the Breach, or Valkyria Chronicles 4. So I haven't played any of these. I almost bought BattleTech several times. I almost bought Into the Breach just last night, and Valkyria Chronicles, I'm waiting for it to go on sale before I buy it. But really, like I said, strategy games don't have a home on console, and I don't play my PC much anymore, and I have a hard time forcing myself to play it, so that's why I haven't played any of these.
Your Switch is going to help you with that, I think, because
Absolutely.
Banner Saga is coming. A lot of like indie games that you can only find on like PC are typically quickly ported to Switch.
Yes. Which, by the way, why the hell is Banner Saga 3 not in art direction? What?
100%. I have no idea. No idea. That...
Yeah.
You want to talk about doing something different and like just that's good, like that totally deserves a mention, but whatever.
But I voted for I can't remember if it was Into the Breach or Valkyria Chronicles. But I would love to see either of those win. I would be fine with BattleTech winning. Honestly, any of these, but probably Frostpunk, because I think Frostpunk is just a city builder. But this is a stronger category than I expected it to be this year, because strategy normally doesn't have a lot of competition in it, but I'm glad to see these.
Best sports racing game. FIFA 19, Horizon 4, Mario Tennis Aces, NBA 2K19, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. I'm sure there are people out there who enjoy sports video games. I am not one of those people, so I voted for Mario Tennis Aces, and we're moving on.
Same. Yeah.
Best multiplayer game. For outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, introspective of game genre. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Fortnite, Monster Hunter World, and Sea of Thieves. For some reason.
Why the hell is Sea of Thieves on here?
Look, at that showcase that we talked about earlier with Microsoft, they came out and said that Sea of Thieves is one of our most successful new IPs that we've had in a while, and they attributed that to it being on Games Pass, and there's all sorts of other things that went in there, but yeah, I don't know why, but it is. It is very much a game for a certain type of people, and it's not you and me.
Let me read you the description for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design. It is none of those things.
Look, I didn't nominate it.
Whatever, it's fine.
I didn't nominate it. I feel like Fortnite's going to win this one. I voted for Destiny again because it's what I'm playing, and it's one of my favorite online multiplayer games.
I did the same.
Maybe it will win. I don't know. There are a lot of, like you said, a lot of unspoken people who don't enjoy it. I'm not a big Call of Duty guy, so I don't know much about that. I hope Monster Hunter pulls this out a little bit because it's fun to hunt monsters with your friends.
It is.
But I don't know that it's going to pull it out. Best student game, Combat 2018, Dash Quasar, Jira, and Lift, and then Recharge. So I haven't played any of these. I don't know where they're even accessible. But
it's kind of cool. These were all best student project created at the high school or college level. So these were literally students that made these.
Right, yeah.
That's really cool.
Some of these look really, really cool. Like Lift, I really want to play. It looks like it has a really interesting art style. I kind of like the simplistic minimalism of Combat 2018. I don't know what it's about, but it looks really interesting. So these are cool. I hope during the show they tell you where you can find these to play.
Yeah, I hope they all get for these. It's really cool just to be nominated, and I hope that they do say you can find all these here because that's really cool. They deserve more attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Best debut indie game. So this is recognizing a new independent studio that released its first game in 2018, and the winner is selected by fan voting. So Donut County is is there. Florence, Moss, and The Messenger, and then Yuko's Island Express. So I've played Donut County and Moss. For me, it was a strong tear between those two because I love Donut County. There was some stupid mobile game that its premise was like the same idea of like you have a hole in the ground and you're just trying to eat everything up. I played that game for months with the name Donut County is better, just to spite the game for like stealing Ben Espito's idea. And so I've like repped hard for Donut County. So I say repped hard. I cared a lot about that one. So I ended up voting for that. But Moss 2 is an outstanding game, and I hope they get a lot of being nominated is recognition, but they deserve a win in my book too.
So the rest of them are esports.
The rest of the awards, and we're not going to go into that just because I don't watch esports as much. I don't know a lot of these esports performers or the coaches, and really a lot of these content creators. I forget what the award was before. It was like influencer or gamer of the year, or maybe that's what it was, gamer of the year. They have content creator of the year this year, and like obviously I know Ninja, I know Myth, I know Pokimane, but like I don't watch a lot of their content, so I didn't vote on any of theirs either. But it's interesting that they changed that category this year to focus on content creator. So it'll be interesting to see who wins that. But anyway, that's the game awards for this year, and there's going to be a lot of announcements and stuff. So I'm excited. I get real excited when we get to look back at the year, see all the fun things we got to do, and then get excited about what's coming next.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegames.com, and you can leave a like on this video. You can share it with your friends, and you can leave it in the comments and let us know what you think of Forky. What are the implications of Forky? I need to know.
Implications of Forky.
Hashtag implications of Forky. Let us know what you thought about all these topics here in on the comment section. If you're an audio listener, you're listening through iTunes, you can leave us a review on iTunes. Let everybody know what you thought about the podcast. We take 4 stars or higher, nothing less. And that really helps the viewability of the podcast on that site. So we really appreciate that. And then you can also, this is a show that we want you to be a part of. If you've got a news story or a topic you'd like to hear us talk about, you can email that to us at chortlecast@gmail.com or in our Discord, which you can find in the description of this video or in this podcast.
And if you do that, we'll even shout you out in the podcast.
We will. We don't get a lot of those, but this is a show that is still continuing to build, so we want to get more. Yep. So feel free to submit those in and all that good stuff. So, and then lastly, you can follow us on Twitter at Chortle Games and on Facebook at Chortle Games to keep up with us. And then, of course, the best way to keep up with us is to just subscribe to Chortle Games, because the podcast isn't the only thing that we do. We have content 6 days a week and we've got a great week coming up for you. A very short week because, Steven, next week is Thanksgiving. When and where how did the time go? Like, Christmas is in, I think, 40 days now.
Oh, gosh.
I'm losing my mind. I don't know what to do, but we are going to be taking some time off through Thanksgiving to be with family, and just because of the craziness of Thanksgiving, we're just frankly not going to have enough time to do some other stuff. So today, Friday, we are going to be doing a live stream of, sorry, my calendar just freaked out.
I will be streaming Uncharted.
Yes,
1.
Thank you.
Drake's Fortune.
Yes, so Steven started the Uncharted series yesterday during his Thursday live stream series. Since we're not going to be streaming next week for that Thursday, Steven's going to give you a double dose on Friday. And then Saturday, I am going to be doing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I'm going to live stream that. It's probably going to be me and Lee Allison playing, so we'll have some co-op action going on. Cool. We're just going to play through where I'm at in the story and continue on. I don't think there's going to be really many spoilery bits, so you can just come watch us hang out and catch Pokemon. And me oogle over my Eevee because I'm going to love that thing. But anyway, that'll be Saturday. Then Monday, we'll have a Pokemon Let's Go Eevee Let's Play. That'll be just me. It'll be my first moments in the game, so you'll get to see me geek out and freak out over the first hour or so of the game, and enjoy that. Then on Tuesday, normally that's Team Up Tuesday, we play Destiny or another co-op game. Steven is actually going to be out of town. His Thanksgiving festivities start a lot earlier than mine. So as of right now, it is just me. But I'm going to try to see if I can maybe hook up with Jeremy from 8-Bit Gamesters, or maybe one of the guys from Friendly Fire Games. Or I may just open it up to, we can form a fire team. As usual, we wouldn't have mics to communicate or anything, but you guys could zoom around with me and we could kind of work together. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but it's probably going to be me playing Destiny with interperson here. We'll see how that goes. And then Wednesday, November 21st of next week, that's when Chortle Games is going to cease production for a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's wrong. Hitman 2 Let's Play is coming out then. So we're going to get you the Hitman 2 Let's Play. That's happening on Wednesday. Thursday, when Thanksgiving actually is, we're not going to have any live content that night. And then Friday, we're not going to have any content, and neither Saturday. So there won't be a podcast next week. There won't be a Where's Their stream next week. And there won't be any streams, late night streams on Friday or Saturday. But we will be coming back in full force on Monday the 26th with a Beat Saber Let's Play. It's going to be me and Lee Allison. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Steven is jealous and quaking in his boots that he can't be a part of it. But
quaking in my boots.
Quaking in his boots. I know it. You don't have to admit it, Steven. I understand. I know. Okay. I know you. But anyway, we'll be back in full swing the week after Thanksgiving. But just because crazy schedules and how everything goes, that's what it's going to be. So anyway, Steven, this was a good show, a long show, probably one of the longest shows we've done in a long time. But
thanks for sticking with us.
Yes, thank you for sticking with us. I'm glad we got to really go at it about the nominees, and we had a lot of good news stories this week. So thank you for being here as always. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for viewing and listening. We appreciate you. Be sure to check us out later tonight on streams, and otherwise we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.